The comparison trap is arguably the single greatest inhibitor of long-term progress. We are hardwired to look outward, to assess our standing relative to the tribe. But in the modern digital age, the tribe is now billions strong, and our reference points are deeply skewed. Specifically, we habitually commit the fundamental error of comparing our Chapter 1, the messy, uncertain, amateur beginning, to someone else's Chapter 20, the polished, perfected, publicized mastery. This is not merely demoralizing. It's an inherently irrational act that prevents the development of necessary daily habits. We see the final product, the culmination of a decade of effort, and demand that same level of competence from ourselves on day one. This video will dismantle that flawed perspective and establish a new, sustainable metric for success, benchmarking exclusively against your yesterday.
What exactly does Chapter 20 represent? It is the illusion of overnight success, a public facade built upon years of private sacrifice. Chapter 20 is not just competence, it is consistency optimized. It is the result of countless failed experiments, forgotten drafts, embarrassing early attempts, crucial mentorship, financial setbacks, and the tedious, unglamorous work that nobody shares online. When you observe that level of mastery, you are witnessing the compounded interest of daily, sometimes agonizing practice. To judge your initial tentative steps against this complex historical foundation is akin to judging a blueprint against a completed skyscraper. It sets an unreachable standard, inducing paralysis, because you are expecting maturity and effortlessness when you should be embracing awkwardness and inefficiency.
Let's embrace the reality of Chapter 1. It is meant to be flawed. Chapter 1 is defined by high effort yielding low initial reward. You are defining the terminology, learning the basic syntax, developing the initial infrastructure, and crucially, building mental resilience. This phase is characterized by mistakes that feel monumental but are essential for deep learning. If your Chapter 1 looked like Chapter 20, it would mean you haven't actually stretched or challenged yourself into true growth. The discomfort and lack of polish are not signs of inadequacy. They are proof that you are entering new territory. The goal of Chapter 1 is simply to finish the chapter, establishing the foundation, not to write the magnum opus.
The moment you realize that your competition is not external, but temporal, everything changes. The only meaningful benchmark you possess is yourself, 24 hours ago. This shift moves the goalposts from an unattainable external summit to a manageable internal step forward. If you were slightly better, slightly more consistent, or slightly more knowledgeable today than you were yesterday, you have won the only game that truly matters for long-term momentum. This process demands radical honesty, but eliminates the emotional damage caused by comparison. You don't need to know the entire map to Chapter 20. You only need to confirm you took one successful step away from Chapter 0.
This daily discipline requires defining a specific microscopic target for improvement. We are talking about the 1% rule. What is the smallest possible improvement I can make today? Perhaps yesterday you got distracted every 15 minutes. Today, the benchmark is 18 minutes. If yesterday's practice session resulted in 2 critical errors, today's goal is fewer than 2. This micro-focus grounds your ambition in reality. It transforms daunting abstract goals like achieve mastery into concrete, achievable daily missions. By making the improvement marginal, you dramatically increase the likelihood of success, thus building reliable momentum and reinforcing the habit loop, turning consistency into the baseline, not the aspiration.
The power of compounding micro-improvements is often underestimated, precisely because it is nearly invisible day to day. If you are comparing against Chapter 20, your 1% gain today looks negligible against their 10,000% head start. But the fundamental law of self-development dictates that sustainable growth is iterative, not explosive. The slight increase in focus, the minor refinement of technique, the fractional boost in endurance, these are the actual moments where character is forged. These incremental corrections stack up, creating structural integrity. It's the difference between a bamboo plant, which seems dormant for years before exploding skyward, and a flimsy structure built on shortcuts. Commit to the invisible consistency, and the visible success will inevitably follow.
Consider the skill acquisition case study. Imagine learning a foreign language. A beginner, Chapter 1, struggles to construct a simple sentence. An advanced speaker, Chapter 20, engages in complex, nuanced conversation. If the beginner judges themselves on conversational flow, they quit instantly. But the advanced speaker reached that fluency not through talent, but by enduring thousands of awkward, frustrating, confusing attempts at sentence construction. They had to sound foolish daily. The gap between Chapter 1 and Chapter 20 is not a talent gap. It's an accumulated endurance gap. The current frustrating reality of the learner is the exact historical data point that the master overcame repeatedly. Benchmark your progress by the number of new words retained since yesterday, not the flow of their dialogue today.
To maintain internal benchmarking, you must establish an internal scorecard. This scorecard measures factors entirely within your sphere of control, detached from external market results. Did I honor the planned time block? Did I maintain deep focus for the allotted period? Did I proactively seek feedback on the previous day's work? The quality of the output might still be Chapter 1 level, but if your process metrics are improving, the system is working. If you judge your day solely by your effort and adherence to process, you remove the demoralizing volatility of outcome comparisons. If the internal scorecard is green, your trajectory is sound, even if the external results lag behind the perceived pace of Chapter 20.
The ultimate goal is to shift your emotional attachment from the outcome to the process. Comparison is outcome-obsessed. Yesterday's benchmark is process-driven. When you focus on process, you grant yourself the necessary patience and self-compassion required for true mastery. Every master, every Chapter 20 success story needed time to be clumsy. They gave themselves permission to be imperfect, provided they were improving. By honoring the commitment to the daily process, you are actively becoming the kind of person who deserves and can sustain Chapter 20 success, regardless of when it arrives. Your value is found in the integrity of your effort today, not the brilliance of your results tomorrow.
In the context of benchmarking against yesterday, failure is immediately reframed. When we fail against Chapter 20 standards, it feels like an indictment of our ability. When we fail against yesterday's standards, it is merely data. Did I make the same mistake today that I made yesterday? If yes, the benchmark wasn't met. I need to refine the process. If no, then even if the output was terrible, I learned something crucial and improved my internal metrics. Failure ceases to be a stop sign and becomes a compass guiding the next 1% adjustment. This mindset minimizes the duration of self-criticism, channeling that energy instead into analytical problem-solving required for genuine long-term refinement.
To integrate this powerful mindset into a sustainable daily habit, follow this 3-step routine. Step 1. Before starting work, acknowledge the external comparison impulse, but consciously release it, reminding yourself that those results are irrelevant to today's mission. Step 2. Define your specific 1% target based strictly on yesterday's performance report. Be precise and small. Step 3. At the end of the workday, review your internal scorecard. Ask, did I achieve my 1% benchmark? If not, why? What is the new 1% target for tomorrow? By consistently completing this loop, you reinforce the positive feedback cycle, ensuring your focus remains on controlled improvement rather than paralyzing envy. The journey to competence and eventually mastery is non-transferable. Your Chapter 1 is sacred territory, reserved exclusively for establishing your unique foundation. Release the suffocating pressure of matching someone else's timeline or output. The only meaningful dialogue you need to have is with the person you were yesterday. If you consistently show up and commit to being marginally better than that past self, you guarantee that your Chapter 20 will eventually be written and it will be authentically yours. Stop looking outwards, start looking inwards, and commit to the daily victory of the 1%. This is how true, lasting success is engineered. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates.